How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here. Wrestling Observer Radio, October 31st, 2024. Figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Got a lot of news to talk about here on Halloween. So let's get into it.
Halloween's tomorrow, huh?
It's today.
Well, I guess technically, yeah.
Yes, it is today. When I say tomorrow, you don't say technically, you say it's today. So I'm telling you, Halloween is today. It's right now as we speak.
So that means I'm going to have trick-or-treaters tonight.
Presumably, yeah.
Oh, man.
They show up?
They show up.
Well, speaking of horrors, what's Vince up to?
He's, we talked about this months ago. He's looking at starting a company, a non-wrestling company. And I guess Brad Blum, when he left WWE, went with him, which everyone kind of expected. And Christine Prouty, which I didn't know, is with him. And Mike Johnson reported it was an entertainment company, which I kind of knew. He wants to start something. I know that the last word I got was that he was feeling that, at the time, it hasn't started, and the reason it hasn't been announced is because at the time, the belief was that nobody would do business with him. He was, starting on it, and he felt that he needed to clear his name before announcing this. So it hasn't been announced, even though it's been reported and stuff. But, he felt that he needed to clear his name. I don't know how he's going to clear his name anytime soon. I was going
to say, this is a long time coming for that name to be cleared.
Yeah, probably. He may start without it. I don't know. Will people do business with him? In time.
What's he want to do?
Make movies and stuff.
Make movies and stuff.
Make movies, yeah. TV shows.
Wow.
Yeah, non-wrestling.
Huh.
Maybe not on a football league.
It's WWE films with no WWE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to not support that.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't expect it to be easy sailings for him right now. Yeah. Whatever. But he's in an interesting place because the election's a real big deal for him. Because if Trump wins, I just don't see the Justice Department investigation going anywhere. If he doesn't win, then it's up to what they find. We'll probably. They basically asked for time until December, and then in December the lawsuit will be back on the dockets again. So we'll probably start. Maybe we'll hear more. Maybe we don't. But I know that Ann Callis and Janelle Grant's PR firm. They're out there making statements. It feels like every other day now, anti-Vince statements. So they're certainly not quiet during this period of the suit being on ice. They lambasted the idea of anybody wanting to do business with him and what a horrible person he was. And of course the Ring Boys lawsuit, they chimed in on that as one would expect that they would. They pretty much hammer Vince at every opportunity.
Well, that Ring Boy lawsuit is also going to put a damper on his plans to do business.
Ain't going to help, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. He's going to have to settle that one. I think that the key on that one is how many more come forward. Because when they made the announcement, there were 5 people who'd come forward that they already had. But I think that they expected that once the news of the lawsuit was out, that more would follow suit once they got the word that that through the grapevine somehow that there's a lawsuit involved. So we'll see if more people come forward on that one.
All right, this WWE ID thing.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. It's
really too early to tell what as far as if it's going to be. The one thing that it is if you go back a couple of years ago, the big thing was that WWE was going to create wrestlers by getting college athletes, take them to the training center and teach them from day one to be wrestlers. And AEW Tony Khan said that our system, which would be signing the best independent wrestlers, would end up being superior in the long run. And we really haven't, it's still not the long run yet, but it's very clear after some time that WWE does not want to leave. The best system is a combination of both. AEW has not really done any recruiting of anyone. I mean, Anthony Ogogo, I guess, was a boxer and everything, but it's been years, and he had that one program with Cody Rhodes, and he's drops in every now and then, but he really hasn't. They really haven't gone anywhere with him. Haven't done anything, and there really isn't. Who else have they really started from? An athlete that they started from scratch. Literally, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. WWE has plenty that they've started. And I guess the deal is that they got the 5 schools, and they're gonna sign certain guys. They would be low money contracts, and they'll see what happens. But it's
there are already people signed. It's a small number of people that have already been signed.
Yes,
and it is a small amount of money. It's basically to help your overall look, your presentation as a professional wrestler. It's things like that, I'm sure.
Well, it's also a way of locking them up before AEW can find them, essentially.
Well, yeah. It's
anyone that they can that they
apparently they're not actually locked up. Where if you're under this deal, it's essentially if you get an offer from AEW and you're under one of these deals, you do have to tell WWE first. And they have the right to say, okay, well, we want to sign you to a deal and send you to NXT. Right. Or they can say, go for it. Take the offer. We are not interested.
Right. So, but the key on this is that if you're a WWE developmental deal is a lot less money than an AEW deal if AEW wants to sign somebody and do something with them. So, but the way this works is that you would have to take the NXT deal. So if they want you, if they think that you have something, they can then sign you to a developmental deal, which could be a lot less money than you could have made elsewhere.
Sure, but I would guess that like most people who take them up on this offer, their goal is to go to WWE. Essentially, this is exactly this is what Nick Wayne did when he was 16. They offered him a deal.
Yeah, but
the deal was, in 2 years you're going to get signed to AEW, and he did it because he did not want to go to WWE. He wanted to go to AEW, and so he signed the deal.
Well, Nick Wayne was the only one. It was a very unique situation because everyone knew about Nick Wayne. So it wasn't like this is more for unknowns, so to speak. But the thing is I don't know that there certainly are people whose goal would be WWE, okay? But as a general rule, I think most wrestlers' goal is to go somewhere and be someone and make money, whether that's AEW or WWE. And, it's good. It's like they'll get you, they get you at a, they get kind of a leg up on people. It's smart. It's a smart thing to do, to sign you up like that. Some people are comparing it to like what happened in the UK. And, if you look at hindsight on the UK situation, when WWE started signing people up for NXT UK, it was like, we're just giving them $20,000 a year, and they're going to be able to do all their indies. And a lot of them weren't even making $20,000 a year, doing the indies, but they were getting a lot of work and they were getting a lot of experience. And many of them got very good. Tyler Bate, who's, he's injured now, but very talented guy. And, Pete Dunne and several others, that have come through, from the UK side. But what ended up happening, Trent Seven, although he's not with them anymore, what ended up happening was that very soon they weren't allowed to work anywhere they wanted. They were only allowed to work for WWE affiliated groups, and those became fewer and fewer. And it's not the only reason that the UK independent scene that was thriving several years ago, started dying out. And the pandemic certainly sped it up. Overexposure of the product, did to a degree and everything like that, and also a lot of the guys leaving and not being really replaced by so many new guys at the same level hurt. So I've seen a lot of people look at this and just go like, oh, this is what they did in the UK, and the end result was bad. And it's like, I think this country is too vast for that to happen. But I mean, for the schools themselves, it should probably help their enrollment, because people know that these specific schools are a pipeline to WWE and other schools are not. So it benefits the school to be there, and I'm sure that there's certain things that will be helped out, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think it's a very smart move from the WWE standpoint. I think the one thing that's actually very good is recognizing that the rigid idea that basically we're going to create wrestlers from great athletes as opposed to people who really want to be wrestlers, that is not a complete approach to this thing. I mean, they've always, at times, recruited independent guys that have made some names or that are good.
Well, you can see what their philosophy is if you watch NXT. Yeah. I mean, you've got NIL athletes that are trying to turn into pro wrestlers, and not that many. Really. They're bringing in Julia, and Stephanie McCure, and
more women than guys, really.
Yeah, but the point is they've got a mix of everything on NXT, and that's clearly the way they want to do this.
Julie and Stephanie McCure are genuine international stars. They're not beginners, even though Julia.
No, that's my point. My point is they are recruiting genuine international stars and also NIL athletes that they're trying to teach how to wrestle. It's not like they have one thing that they want to do. They're doing multiple different things.
Well, they've always done that. It's never been that they weren't going to recruit, people who had made their name in New Japan or anything like that. That was never like off the books. But it was the idea of, like the indie guys with all their bad habits and all their bad looks and all that, that they weren't interested in them under Vince. I mean, the standards always change. I remember all those years it was 6'2", 240. We don't want anyone else. We only want people with, you know what I mean? And, eventually when you have really rigid standards, you lose out on far too many people because not everyone's a cookie cutter and everything. And, when Kevin Owens and those guys got over on the main roster, it kind of is like, the idea that you have to be 6'2", 240 with a good physique, to be marketable in our company, that's gone out the window, because it's been proved guys have gotten over without that, and as top guys that are as multi-million-dollar players.
Kenny Omega is about to return on a New Japan show.
Well, he's going to be appearing on Monday's New Japan show, which, by the way, will be for those out here. It's actually prime time on the West Coast. I think it's going to start at 10 p.m. I think it's 10 p.m. Sunday night. The Power Struggle show from Osaka with Shingo Takagi challenging Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP title, and David Finlay is wrestling Taichi for the Global. But Kenny Omega will be the finals of the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Tournament that's going on. Master Wato against Doki for the Junior Heavyweight title, among other matches. Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols against Tanare and Great O'Khan. But yeah, Omega will make an appearance, and I presume, the basic thing that they've been building is Young Bucks against Kenny Omega and Hiroshi Tanahashi for January 5th. I don't know if that will be his first match. I don't know for sure that he will be cleared in time for that match, January 5th. But that is certainly the match that they are building. And, he's talking about returning a lot. So I think that the idea, is pretty clear he is going to return. He's been in Japan for a while, training over there, and doing other work there as well. So with Kota Ibushi, they've been training a lot together. So, he should be back, I think, in the new year. And we'll see how physically, obviously the idea is, for him and Okada to do a match at some point next year in AEW on a pay-per-view. And we'll see how that goes. That's a lot of pressure to come back and, replicate essentially this 4-match series that was, 4 of the greatest matches in the history of wrestling. So, it's a lot to live up to for both of them.
So on the NXT show on Tuesday, which we'll review later, Rhea Ripley showed up. And as the show was ending, there's a ruckus, and everybody rushes back there, and we see Liv Morgan and Raquel walking off screen with bats or whatever, and they rush over, and there's Rhea Ripley on the ground, and they've actually got the fake blood all over her, like she's been beaten bloody, and apparently she's got some sort of injury.
She's got a fractured orbital bone. So the injury that they announced is pretty much legit. Yeah. It happened last week. I'm not sure. Probably the last TV thing, because she hasn't worked any house shows. So probably in the last TV angle that she did with Raquel, was where it happened most likely. And she is going to be out for a while. And I guess I don't know 100% that's why she's not on the pay-per-view. Because I did hear that match for the pay-per-view. But yeah, it happened last week. And then they did this thing as a cover because, to basically have a reason for her to be out of action.
And what's up with Bandito?
He's cleared. He's ready to go. He was in Salt Lake City last Wednesday night. So, I mean, he's ready to go. I don't know if he was there tonight. I didn't ask. But, yeah, he's been out for a long, long time. He broke his wrist to get surgery. The first surgery didn't go well. So hopefully they can bring him in and do something with him. The guy's got a lot of charisma, great ability. So he's, they've been waiting for a long time for him to be ready.
All right, let's get these ratings out of the way, then we'll talk some MMA and these two shows.
Yeah, hold on. So yeah, basically the World Series has done a number on everything. Last week, Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite were 1, 2, and 3 as far as cable entertainment shows. So, last week, even at 0.19, Dynamite was still tied for third, slightly ahead of 90 Day Fiancé. So, but as far as overall, they were behind like NBA games, NFL, college football, everything. A lot of news shows. Not Raw. Actually, Raw and SmackDown were not behind a lot of news shows. Dynamite was behind a lot of news shows. The presidential election coming up and everything. News ratings are way up. NXT last night did 588,000 viewers and 0.14. And actually did 0.07 in 18 to 34. So they were actually in 18 to 34 well below Dynamite. Before they were doing better. And this is 2 straight weeks that they've done very, very low numbers in 18 to 34. So it's I don't want to say it's a pattern. Like they were going against the World Series, so I almost say like you throw everything out. I mean, it was the lowest 18 to 49 number. It's the lowest 18 to 34 number that I can recall. I mean, we have to be going back way over a year. 18 to 49, it was the lowest number since July 4th, 2023. A July 4th show, which also should be way, way, way down. But I mean, the World Series did over 16 million viewers. The World Series is going to kill Dynamite tonight, too. It was a deciding game. Dodgers won the series. So, yeah, between that and news and everything like that, the AEW and NBA and everything, and AEW number will be down from usual, probably a lot down from usual because everybody else has been down from usual as well. Raw did 1,418,000 viewers and an 0.42, I believe. The viewer number was the 5th lowest in the history of the show, and that's with a 2-hour show, not a 3-hour show. But it figured to be the lowest of the year when you're going against both the NFL and the World Series. That's always a tough doubleheader to go against, especially this year's World Series, which is doing the best numbers the World Series has done in many, many years. The game 3 that went Monday actually beat the NFL, and I cannot remember the last time the World Series has beaten an NFL broadcast, a primetime NFL broadcast. I mean, you got to go back. God, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the last time, but it's years and years and years. So anyway, that's what happened there. And then Collision also way down due to the World Series. I mean, it was 321,000 viewers with an 0.09. So that was that. I also want to make a correction on the Monday show when I said that the Rampage numbers were 7,000 men and 2,000 women. It was actually somebody had basically read it wrong to me. It was 9,000 men and 7,000 women in 18 to 34, which are still terrible numbers, but not as terrible as the numbers that I said. But again, that was also against the World Series on last Friday night. So everything's down as we expect it to be. The World Series is now over. So now everything will be back to normal, at least. I think Monday, like this weekend, the Collision show. Let's see. So Friday night. It's a taped SmackDown, but that doesn't usually make a difference. So it should be back to normal levels. Rampage hasn't been doing well. Rampage doesn't have anything on the show of note, other than a Leo Rush Commander match, which I heard was really good. And then the Collision will probably be down because it's the same day as a WWE pay-per-view, the Crown Jewel. And historically, even when they're not head-to-head on a WWE pay-per-view day, the Collision number is usually down a lot. So, I don't expect a big number there. Raw should bounce back to normal versus football season levels, maybe even up coming off the pay-per-view. And then there's no SmackDown. There's no NXT on Tuesday. And then Wednesday will be interesting. It's the AEW versus NXT head-to-head. With NXT heavily pushing, ECW nostalgia, Dawn Marie and Francine and Nunzio and Bubba Ray Dudley and Rob Van Dam, maybe others as well.
All right, we got a couple of MMA notes to talk about here today. Anthony Robles. Well,
it's not MMA. Anthony Robles was...
That's wrestling.
It's wrestling,
Amateur wrestling.
Amateur wrestling. Yeah, Anthony Robles, there's a movie out on his life that I just saw the trailer for this week, and it looked really good. I've seen some reviews. The movie has done well in certain film festivals and everything. It's a very formulaic movie. Anthony Robles was born without a right leg, and he ended up wrestling in high school and ended up being like fairly famous as far as high school because in Arizona, in high school, he won 2 state championships and a national championship as a high schooler and won 96 straight matches, undefeated his junior year, undefeated his senior year. The belief was, the advantage he had, and there were actually people it's funny that this guy with one leg, in a sport as demanding as wrestling, does extremely well. And there were people in the wrestling community that were, it's like they weren't as like whatever about him as you would think because of the feeling that, and there's just truth to this, that because he didn't have a leg, his upper body strength was like the strength of somebody several weight classes up because his upper body was so big, and the lack of a leg actually that cuts your weight down, if you know what I'm saying. Another thing that he's incredible at was doing pull-ups. He did, I don't know if he still holds the world record, but he did 62 pull-ups in 60 seconds, which was a world record at one point in 2018. But he was always like a monster at doing pull-ups because, again, he had that big back and big arms, and he had to pull up far less weight because there's no leg. Nevertheless, having said all that, he was absolutely a remarkable accomplishment. And then after high school, even though he did great and, he took an age group world championship and everything, he didn't get many Division I offers, and he didn't get them from the big colleges because the basic feeling is that, his uniqueness worked at the high school level, but it would never work at the college level where you got bigger, stronger guys. And that extra strength that he has would not, it would not, when you're going against like the top level college Division I wrestlers, those guys are ridiculously strong for their size also. But he was a very successful college wrestler. He was a walk-on at Arizona State. He didn't get a scholarship. He ended up winning an NCAA title and going undefeated his senior year. He never really went for like senior world championships or anything like that. But the movie's coming out. It's going to be at theaters on December 6th for like a limited engagement. And then it's going to be released on Amazon Prime on January 16th. And saw the trailer. The trailer looked really good. The reviews were essentially that the movie is very predictable, but the guy who plays Anthony Robles does a great job, and the mother, who's played by Jennifer Lopez, that she does an excellent job as well. And it's a tearjerker movie. The story. I mean, I basically said the story, but generally very good reviews to that movie. So anyway, that'll be out on Amazon Prime on January 16th.
And John Jones.
John Jones's charges for the when the drug testers came and he got allegedly abusive, they have been dropped. As long as he doesn't get in any trouble in the next 90 days, it will be expunged from his record, and he has to do 4 hours of anger management classes. And if once he goes through the anger management classes and goes 90 days without any trouble, it will be expunged from his record. So that case it's not 100% settled, but it's been settled, so to speak. So now he's got to fight November 16th. Like 2 weeks from Saturday against Stipe Miocic, which is, it should be the biggest pay-per-view of the year because of John Jones. And, we'll see what happens. It could be his last fight of his career. Obviously, there's big money, I think, in John Jones and Tom Aspinall next year. But I think John's also been a guy who wants to retire one fight too early rather than one fight too late, so to speak. Retire undefeated. I mean, he should beat Stipe. I mean, just because of the age. If they were the same age, it would be a pretty damn competitive fight. I'd favor John Jones. But, Stipe's a badass guy. But Stipe's in his 40s now. I just don't see him being able to be, John's 36, but big difference, between like whatever it is, 42-ish. With 36, I just don't think. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be able to handle John Jones. Aspinall's a different story, but I don't know if we'll get that fight or not. Obviously, UFC would love to have the fight, and it's kind of up to John Jones. I don't think he's going to take a fight. He thinks he's going to lose in though.
All right, we got two shows to talk about here, the Fright Night Dynamite and the NXT show, which was a follow-up to Halloween Havoc. We had a casket match and some other stuff. So the show opened up with a BCC video package, and then Orange Cassidy cut it off, and he stormed down to the ring, and he did a very, very serious promo. He said, "This is not the kind of thing I normally do, but listen, I'm not a leader, but last week my best friend got his neck crushed by a steel chair, and I looked around and saw people who shouldn't have been there. All talented but young. They're the future of AEW, but they don't know the danger they're in." So he says, I need this place. John doesn't, but I do. If there is no AEW, there's no us. And so I know what I need to do. He takes off his sunglasses. He challenges Moxley to a title match at Full Gear. And then he says, well, let me know. I'll be around. And, it is official. That is the match for Full Gear.
Yeah. These 11 baby faces and 4 heels stuff. I don't know.
This is the early days of the NWO, is what this is.
Well, I mean, I hope that they're very careful because, well, the NWO absolutely was a success for a short period of time. Relatively short, if you look at wrestling history. I mean, people kind of like romanticize it, but it really was a short period of time. And the long term was an absolute disaster because they didn't keep the home brand strong, and they didn't keep babyfaces strong. And AEW's always, that's the one thing on the show tonight. It was just like, God damn! It's like every time you turn around, it's like babyface is getting their ass kicked, and it's fine at the beginning of every angle. You have to do it at times, but you also have to do it in the other direction. You know what I mean? Or else you never, like, a top babyface certainly can get an ass beating, especially when it's, like at the end of the show was when Swerve got beat down by Bobby Lashley and MVP and Shelton Benjamin. I mean, exactly what you would do for the first thing. But it's like at times you've got to have these baby faces doing something, because or else you just have a bunch of baby faces going over, like what happened in WCW should be like the warning. Like, yeah, this did work short term, but make sure we don't make the mistakes long term. And right now, they haven't done that yet. I'll just say that.
We got Adam Cole and Buddy Matthews. They had a long match, and the story of the match was that Adam Cole tweaked his ankle, allegedly, and he was having a hard time in the match, and Buddy went to work on it. And this was an idea. It was a good idea on paper, I think. I don't say it was a good idea, because it wasn't a good idea, but it was on paper. Like if you jotted it down, go, hey, he's going to sell a lot, and he's going to overcome, and he's going to win, and everything. But the minute he started selling that ankle, the crowd just decided that he's a pussy, and we just want Buddy Matthews to win. Well, there was a big mistake they made, and that was, as he's selling, the doctor comes up, and he wants to stop the match, okay? Now, to his credit, Adam Cole did verbally say, I don't want to stop. No way. There's no way. It's not happening.
Yeah, but then
after saying those words, he let the doctor start helping him to the back.
Yep.
And the fans were not down with that. And then Buddy Matthews cut a promo saying, see, this new Adam is fragile. He's just a little bitch. And so then Cole ends up shoving the doctor away, and he starts heading back to, make his big comeback and everything like that. But then, they do a couple more spots, and he eats a curb stomp, and then he rolls to the apron right to the doctor again. So the doctor's like getting ready to stop the match. And so Buddy goes and he grabs a towel off the doctor and he throws it at Adam Cole and he says, hey, toss it in. Toss it in like you want to. And Cole ends up throwing the towel at him, making a big comeback, and hitting a sunrise in the ring, a Panama sunrise off the apron to the floor, and the boom to the back of the head for the pin. And if it hadn't have been, he should not have gone to leave. Like, that was the death blow.
Well, because
once that happened, it was like...
Yeah, but even even before that, once you start selling the ankle, you could see it. And it's like... The thing that he needed to do was show that he's okay. And all it did was show people that, like, he's not okay. It's his first match back, and the ankle's already gone again. And, in theory, him overcoming that should have been this great sympathetic thing. But the crowd decided that that's not the case. They do not want this guy who is not 100% Adam Cole. They don't want a guy who is always going to get hurt, because you got to remember, he got a concussion. He was out for close to a year, right? He got this ankle injury that, was way worse than expected, and he needed, 14 months to come back. The last thing people want to see is the idea, like, he can sell the leg and work on the leg, but when he's out there limping and almost quitting the match, I just thought that this, just from reading the crowd. Now, when he got the pin itself, everybody cheered. So it wasn't like they turned on him.
Well, he did, but then he grabbed the mic and they booed.
That wasn't a lot of booing, but there
were people booing when he grabbed the microphone.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. There were some booing. The problem with AEW, and this is the Cody Rhodes thing, and it happened with Jericho too, is that at first, when it's a few people booing, it becomes booing a babyface, it becomes the thing to do. And even if it's like with Cody Rhodes, for example, every time I got a report from the building, it was like, on TV it looks like he's getting booed like crazy, and it was like, really, it's 3/4 cheers and 1/4 boos, but the boos, are louder. That's what happens when you get booed. Cena was like that too, and so the situation is like, it doesn't take a lot of people booing to make it seem like, you're failing as a babyface, but with the AEW fan base, it does become the cool thing, and it's hard to turn around. So, it was. We'll have to see how it goes. The other thing too is, I think the people really like the House of Black, even though they can be heels and everything. But deep down, everybody likes them. And when Malachi Black was in the ring, and Adam Cole's going to wrestle Malachi Black next Wednesday, but when Malachi Black was in the ring, the people cheered him like crazy. So it's we'll see next week. But he should not be selling. Or he should not be selling like he's fragile. That's exactly what, the storyline shouldn't be, oh my God, he's got so much guts that he can barely walk, but he's pulling these wins out. That is not going to work. I can say that for sure.
Well, he offered a handshake to Buddy afterwards, thanked him. Lights go out, they come back on, and he's actually shaking Malachi's hand. So that's next. Adam Cole, Malachi Black.
Yeah, to build up for Adam Cole and MJF. So,
well, we'll see. Either him or Roddy have to win 3 matches to get the shot at MJF.
If they do Roddy, then that's booking malpractice.
Well, what I expect to happen is they both win 2, and then they have to wrestle each other. Or Roderick Strong tries to turn on him. I feel there's something coming up here.
There probably is. Yeah.
So Chris Daniels goes up to Private Party. He says, listen, the same thing happening to you tonight happened with me and Frankie Kazarian. Things were never the same with us afterwards. Frankie's not even in AEW anymore. So think about what you're risking tonight. And they both vow to leave as AEW Tag Team Champions.
This was a good segment because it actually brought up something that actually happened in AEW before with that similar situation. The match was fantastic. They really had a great match, but it probably should have had 2 more weeks of build. I don't think that it had the, in the building, at first, it wasn't like it was super over at the beginning of the match, but goddamn, they had a great match, and it was very, very over at the end.
Well, we had Cole backstage in the trainer's room, and up walks Roderick Strong and the Kingdom and such. And Adam Cole cuts a promo, and basically they're still explaining this whole double turn that they did, where he says, yeah. I don't blame you, Max, for what happened with my ankle, but I blame you for pretending this was ever going to work. I knew you'd betray me the first chance you got. You did it to Wardlow, Sammy, Daniel Garcia. So I wasn't going to sit around and wait and think about it. I had to teach you a lesson, a tough lesson. I care about the AEW fans, the locker room, something you've never been a part of, and I will get my hands on you at Full Gear. Then he goes, actually, maybe me and Roddy. And then he's going to be happy to teach him another lesson.
Yeah.
Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher come out. So Kyle had called out Will Ospreay, and of course there's no Will Ospreay. But instead, out comes the returning Mark Davis. And Kyle wants a hug. Mark will not give him a hug. And he says, you know what? I'm looking at you. I can't even look at you in the eyes right now. You're out here calling out Will. You know he's at home. He's at home because you laid him out. He's a guy that we used to call a brother. Kyle says, I have not changed. Don just helped me see Will for who he truly is. I knew this day would come, he said. You're always going to have a spot in the Don Callis family. And Mark said, man, we had an empire, a united empire. You destroyed it. He starts to leave. Kyle says, before you go, there will become a day very soon where you have to make a hard decision. And I don't have any problem cutting the past loose. And he walks off. So, I guess Mark Davis has to make a decision. Although, as Ricochet noted, it looks like he already did. He walked off.
Yeah, I don't know. Mark Davis without Kyle Fletcher is going to be tough.
We had Hangman Page promo, which was very good. And he said, Jay, you got knocked out of the Owen. But you can blame Christian all you want, but I'm the guy that hurt you so bad you were at home for 3 months. Our record's 4-1 after you beat me at a Wrestle Dream, which you did beat me. But there will be no redemption.
Yeah, it's 4-1 in the other direction, not in his direction.
Yes. He says, I know what you're going to do at the pay-per-view. Do you know what I'm going to do? I might light your house on fire, might break your ankle again, but I will leave you less than you were before you walked in. It's good promo. Good promo by Hangman.
It was all right, yeah.
Moxley and his crew come out for a promo, and he basically puts over Orange Cassidy, and he says, listen, I cut all the distractions out of your life. I did you a favor here by beating up Chuck Taylor. I did it so you could focus on your goals and step up. You want me at Full Gear tonight? Well, you better be ready to die. And he says, actually, they all grabbed Wheeler, and they put a chair around his neck. Of course, Orange runs down to make the save. It's all a ruse. Wheeler takes the chair off. He starts beating up Orange Cassidy. So then, yes, Dark Order comes down to the ring, and they get killed. And the heels go to break Orange's neck with a chair, but Darby comes down from the rafters. He goes after Claudio. He ends up also getting killed. And finally...
He had trouble getting that hook off, too.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you want to hook him up with 5 hooks, I think we've learned our lesson. The more hooks, the better on those rafter gimmicks. So finally, Top Flight, Daniel Garcia, Private Party all hit the ring, and they end up clearing the ring of the heels, and then they hit the Young Bucks music. And the story is that the Young Bucks want nothing to do with Jon Moxley and his crew. They're cowards. Anytime Moxley's crew's run, they're nowhere to be seen. They finally get run off, and so they come down to the ring for the match with Private Party. And man, this Private Party match, dude.
They're great. It's a great match.
Are the Bucks going to the Hall of Fame this year or what?
Look, I would vote for them, but there's a lot of negativity. I don't know. I don't have an answer right now, but...
how far away were they last time?
They weren't that far. They were 55%.
They were very close.
They were 55%. But the people who were against him are pretty adamant against him. I mean, there's certain people who think that everybody modern are not real stars compared to the 80s and 90s guys, even though the business is much bigger than the 90s. So they have that going against them. I mean, Roman Reigns didn't get in last year. So look, if Jon Moxley was around in the 80s, that guy'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This time, it's probably, going to get 20%, so it's much harder when you're active, to get in. And also, there's enough people who are brainwashed with the idea that these guys don't know how to wrestle, even though they have these matches. And everyone who wrestles them will rave about them. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys have told me that they're the best tag team in the world that have wrestled them. And I mean, how many guys, which is like almost everyone, have had their best match when they're against the Young Bucks? Almost everyone in AEW, almost everyone on the Indies. It's like the guys, I mean, they're not just good, they are great at making their opponents look good. And I mean, has Private Party ever looked better than they looked in this match tonight?
Oh my God.
Ever. This is the best match Private Party's ever had.
This was the best match they've ever had. It was absolutely incredible. There were tag team wrestling chants, Private Party chants, this is awesome chants. I mean, the Bucks are just the best at making these guys look incredible. They sell for them great. They structure the match great.
Well, they're awesome at structuring matches. But the thing is like Private Party, this Private Party, if you had never seen them before and saw them here, you would think that these guys were one of the best tag teams of all time. That's how good they looked in this match.
Well, they won the titles, hit the gin and juice on Nick, got the pin. The place went nuts. This match, this television 20 minutes or whatever, this felt like 2019 AEW. I mean, It was so hot. The match was so great. The crowd reaction was so big. It was like a pay-per-view, like a big-time pay-per-view match and reaction.
Yeah. Well, the one thing is it wasn't like that at the start. Like the first 7 minutes, it wasn't, which makes it even more impressive because they took a crowd and they, it was the work. It wasn't like this match was so over because of promos or it was so over because of stips or anything. It was like, it was so over because the match just got better and better and better. And it was mostly, I mean, the execution, of course, was very good, excellent, but the structure was the absolute, that was really what made the match. And just twists and turns and, I mean, they know how to get you to a certain... Omega's really good at this, too. They get you to a certain thing, and you expect a certain thing, and then, unlike with WWE, where they do exactly what you expect, this is almost like they do what you think, and then they do something else. Over and over and over again.
Well, they did the finish. Young Bucks grabbed the belts away, and then they handed them to Private Party, put them over, and left. This was awesome.
It was an awesome match, yeah.
Yes. Renee did an interview with Jamie Hayter and Penelope about their upcoming match. And then we had a Learning Tree promo where Jericho noted that you gave his match 4 stars.
Oh, the match with Mark Briscoe last week.
The Ring of Honor title match. Yeah. And he said he's now a 2-time champion, just like Jay Briscoe. He's also a 9-time champion. Couldn't have done this without the Redwood and the Bad Apple.
He's the new Ave.
He's going to take Ring of Honor to the biggest stage, the most success it's ever seen, and he vowed to take us to places and heights we had never been before.
Yeah, he also, didn't he say something about, like, he's going to prove that, or he said that, like, all the people who think he's not good only prove how ignorant they are? Something like that, right? That was not exactly what he said. It was, they proved how ignorant they are about television. Yeah. Yeah.
We had Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia having a confrontation. Then the Bucks told Jack they needed to get something done, and they kind of have the camera pan into the room, and they are apparently frantically shredding documents or something.
Yeah, what's this? Is it Nixon or something?
I don't know what they're doing here.
Who shreds documents these? Oh, I guess Dr. Zahorian.
Dr. Zahorian? That was decades ago.
I know, but I'm just thinking of, like, who shreds documents. Dr. Zahorian, when Pat Patterson called him up, said, like, you got to shred all the documents.
We had Camille and Chris Statlander. It did not go long, but Camille was better than she was in that Queen Aminata match.
Much better. Much better. This match was absolutely decent. There was nothing at all wrong with this match, unlike that Queen Aminata match that was just a disaster.
But it was short, and she ends up getting pinned for the first time in AEW. And then Mercedes attacks Statlander from behind. She demands Camille get to the back now and says, if you want something done right, apparently you got to do it yourself. So they're teasing dissension there. And Statlander and Mercedes for the TBS title is next.
Yeah, probably on the pay-per-view, I would think.
We had the Patriarchy now with Kip Sabian.
Yep, he's a member.
He's a member. They invite Hook to talk next week.
They're going to explain that what Hook thinks is not the reality, and there's a reason for what happened. So they're going to explain that reason. Yes.
We had Mark Briscoe doing a promo, and quite frankly, this was this was goofy, Mark Briscoe. I think this should have been more serious based on what happened. But next week, it'll be a fight without honor. Ishii, Mark, and Kyle versus Jericho and Bad Apple and Redwood. That's next week on Dynamite.
That should be a good match. Really good match.
So we had a big angle. The Young Bucks are leaving.
Although I'm not sure it's good enough to counter what that's going to be real interesting next Wednesday as far as NXT and AEW. NXT's got a theme. They've got the ECW nostalgia, but it is an unfamiliar night. It's the day after the presidential election, which, based on history, big news days hurt AEW more than they hurt NXT. It'll be, put it this way, NXT is really loading up with all the ECW guys and that 10 women match and everything like that. And I would say for sure they will be very disappointed if they don't win, whatever win means. And I'm sure that AEW, it's not loaded up. It's, maybe they'll load it up as the week comes by, but it's not that loaded up right now. But I still think that there will be, there'll be a lot of disappointment in AEW if they don't win on their own night.
We had the Young Bucks backstage, and they're getting the hell out of town. And Chris Daniels runs up, and he says, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And the Bucks say, "This place is too chaotic. We came back. We wanted to make this a better place. Nobody wanted to listen to us. We'll be working from home." And they zoom off, but they leave poor Brandon Cutler behind. And, of course, out comes the BCC. They attack Cutler. Daniels tries to stop them, but Moxley holds him back. Claudio takes a hammer. Bam! Whacks poor Brandon Cutler's fingers. And appears the Bucks are off TV for a while. They've gone home.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yep. And I presume they return as conquering babyfaces at some point down the road when they're needed.
For that long?
I don't know, man. I mean, they said they're working from home. Seems like they're going to be gone a while.
It did feel like they'd be gone for a couple of weeks, yeah. But I mean,
a couple of weeks?
You think longer than that?
I don't know. They literally packed up all their stuff. They shredded documents. They said they're out of here and they're going to go start working from home.
Yeah.
That struck me as like they're going to be gone for a while.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just got watching it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pay-per. They're always on the pay-per-views.
I can't imagine they'd be on Full Gear.
Okay.
Less than a month away. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Shelton Benjamin and Swerve was the main event. I thought Shelton looked really good in this match. And you could tell that Swerve absolutely adores this guy.
Yeah.
Because he just sold and sold and sold and sold and sold. And finally hit a Swerve stomp and pinned the guy. But man, he gave him everything before beating him. And then MVP is at ringside on his phone. The lights go out for a split second. The music hits. Out comes Bobby Lashley. Got a big pop. Got in the ring. And the Hurt Business destroyed Swerve and poor Prince Nana. Bunch of dudes came to the ring to try to make the save. They got killed as well. I presume this is the exact same angle they were going to do in Tacoma until they realized killing two hometown babyfaces on the same night was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And MVP then screamed, "Guess who's back in business?" as the show went off the air. I thought this was a good show.
Well, the tag match was good, and there was other good stuff. The closing angle was exactly what it should have been. So, I mean, I think that, I don't know if they go to Swerve and Bobby Lashley in a singles match as quick as Full Gear, but obviously that's the destination. Probably.
Well, he already beat Shelton, so who else is there?
You could do a tag. I was thinking maybe doing a tag or something, but I don't know who he would team with right now. It's not like anyone helped him, when he was getting beaten
He was
down.
not helped.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, NXT had Tatum Paxley and Wendy Chu casket match, which, gimmicks aside, I mean, they're at least, they can work. And we had Legos and everything like that. And then finally, Tatum threw her off a casket onto a bed, which broke. And then she threw her in their casket and won. And, hey, whatever you want to say, the fans loved this. They were going nuts for this match.
The fans were really into the match. I didn't think the match was very good, but the fans were really into the match. Yeah. So the gimmicks, they're into the goofy gimmick.
Not my favorite. Trick came out for a victory promo, and he wants to talk to the only reason he wasn't in the hospital, Bubba Ray Dudley. So Bubba comes out and says, "You don't have to thank me. I was just trying to do the right thing. It wasn't really even about you. It was about that Ridge Hall, and I don't like that guy." And he says, he actually plugged Busted Open like 4 times on the show.
Over and over and over again.
Over and over and over again.
Well, they're in bed with them. There's no doubt about it. They plugged Dave LaGreca, Busted Open Radio. Yeah, I mean, that's the deal.
Says, "My advice to you is have eyes in the back of your head." And Trick says, "I want revenge on Ethan and Ridge. I know you do too. I want a tag match." And Bubba says, "Man, you got me fired up." Fans are chanting, "Do it." Then Bubba says, "You know what? It's not about me. It's about you and the guys in the locker room. I can't take their spot. I appreciate it, but I've got to say no." And he leaves. The fans chant, "You still got it." They actually did about 2 weeks worth of angles here, but since the ECW Arena show is next week, they had to do everything on this show. But this was part 1. Ava's backstage with RVD. He wants to do something next week, but he doesn't know what.
Well, first she said, "Boy, I would have liked to see that Trick and Bubba Ray tag team."
Yes.
Yeah.
You're the GM, don't you?
Yeah, but Bubba turned it down. So until later when he didn't turn it down, and then she made the match immediately.
Then she says, "RVD, do you have any history with Bubba?" He's like, "Yeah, no shit." He said that he wants to be on the show next week, but he's got to find something to do.
You know that all that stuff happened long before she was born.
Oh yes,
many years.
There are
many years before she was born. You know, I mean, the funny thing.
WWE Network.
Yeah, but you know the thing with Bubba and everything, and they all chant ECW and everything like that, is that Bubba was actually in TNA far longer than he was ever in ECW, and he was in WWE longer than he was in ECW as well. But at the end of the day, he'll always be remembered as ECW because that's where they created. That's where he was created.
Yes. So then Kalani walks up and she wants a rematch, but Nikita says, "Hold on a second. I mean, you already lost. I want that opportunity." And Fallon needs a challenger. And Kalani says, "Well, you know what? I'll take care of you tonight, then I'll take care of Fallon." We had a segment backstage where Tony D gets a call, and it's a message. And somehow, the announcers, Vic Joseph, has figured out that this mystery voice could be none other than Nunzio.
That's who it was.
I know, but how the hell did you figure that out from listening to that voice? Come on. But anyway, he's going to be at the show next week.
It sounded just like him.
Well, after they told you.
But I mean,
don't even tell me that when he heard that message, you were like, "Oh, that's Nunzio right there."
Yes.
No, you did not. Come on.
I absolutely 100%. James Maritato.
Nunzio.
That guy did interviews all the time in ECW. I watched ECW. Yeah.
I don't believe that for a second.
Well, it's true.
Well, anyway, he's coming to the show next week. We had Charlie Dempsey and Lexus King with William Regal as his corner man. This storyline must continue. This was only the first part. So everyone waiting to find out what was going to happen, you got to wait longer.
Okay. All I know is that he lost in 2 straight falls.
Well, he lost the first fall, but he would not give up. And then as he's selling a knee injury, he's all hurt, Regal slides the knucks in, and Lexus grabs him and he looks at him, and then he slides him back and he says, "I am not my father!" And then he immediately gets German and pinned. And Regal's disgusted, this idiot. But he has a long discussion with him. So this story must continue.
Yeah. I don't know, the idea that he's giving the guy brass knuckles to knock out his son, that's a tough one.
Well,
and they never acknowledge that it's like the big story.
This is an open secret here.
Everyone knows, but
I know.
But they never acknowledge. They don't say that it's his father or anything.
Yes. I am very intrigued to see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
We had Zarya destroying Brinley Reese, and then Fallon and Fatal Influence come through the crowd, and they get in the ring, and they're about to... Actually, they get in the ring, and then Roxanne and Cora come out, and so it's all the heels surrounding her. And first, Kalani runs down as backup for Zarya, but the heels laugh. It's only 2 of you. Then Julie and Stephanie run down, and Roxanne says, "Well, it's better, but it's still 5-on-4, good for us." And then they hit Jordan Grace's music, and she comes out, and we get a 10-woman brawl. This is awesome chance. Babyfaces clear the ring, and that's a lot of female talent they've got right now.
Yeah.
That's a lot of female talent. And then that brings us to Nikita versus Kalani.
Not that good.
This was really not that good. So Rizzo comes out on the ramp because she had vowed to find the woman who beat her up last week, which it is Nikita.
Yeah.
And Nikita's distracted, misses the Vader bomb. Kalani hits the split-legged moonsault and wins. And then Rizzo attacks Nikita afterwards, and Kalani tries to pull her off, and Rizzo's screaming that she's the one who attacked me. Hits a running tope on Nikita. Everybody runs down to break it up. So that's the feud. Nikita Lyons coming back to immediately go heel.
Yeah. The Rizzo showed a lot of good intensity there. The other thing with Nikita Lyons is that, timing is everything in wrestling. And she got hurt at a bad time. And now that she's back, it's just gone. She was on the track. She was on fast track. She just was, especially with the NXT audience in that building, they get into something. I mean, wrestling audiences like that anyway. But, they get into something, and Nikita was this hot thing that they were really behind. And now it's kind of like they moved on, and she's just there. She's just there. No great reaction, no, wrestling-wise was always weak. She was always over way more than her wrestling, maybe due to her look or whatever. But now, whatever it was, it ain't there now.
So Ethan Page came out for a promo. He's interrupted by Ridge Holland, and they get to arguing back and forth for a while. And out comes Bully Ray. And he says, time me and you had a little talk, Ridge Holland. And he talks about Halloween Havoc, everything that happened there, and keeps talking about Busted Open and how Ridge disrespected the show and his co-host. And he says, it's respectable that you shattered your legs and came back after 8 months, but you disrespected the show. And do you know who I am, he says. I'm the greatest tag team, one half of the greatest tag team that ever walked the earth.
So he was half of the Road Warriors?
I was going to say half of the Young Bucks. I didn't know that either.
Half of the Young Bucks.
He said he's held more titles than Ridge has had title shots.
Yeah, really. Like half of Misawa and Kobashi.
Said neither of them deserved anything when it came to the NXT title. And so Ridge says, nobody cares about you anymore. You're just a co-host. Go watch some old ECW revel in your prime. It was overrated. Then go back to the studio and complain about what's wrong with this generation. So Bubba ends up pissed off. He attacks him. Ethan jumps him from behind. Trick makes the save. And then Bubba accepts the tag team match. And I got to say, Bubba was great on this show. I mean, he did a great job on the show.
He's a pro. He knows how to do angles. He's good.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, I mean, he did a really good job. And it was a very simple story that they didn't try to overcomplicate. I mean, they did the one thing earlier, but that was just to go. But the whole thing is like that's just how you do it. They did it at the once they did it on the show on Sunday, it was kind of like, okay, you can see where this is going, and it's where it went. And if they're going to do ECW, and they're going to have it, I mean, the smart thing to do instead of doing an all ECW match is to have him team with somebody from NXT, and Trick is as good a guy as anyone.
Well, funny you mentioned that they should have seen it coming, because that brings us to the main event of Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus Javon and Cedric Alexander.
Yeah.
Man, these fans, they sure thought that Javon and Cedric were going to win the tag titles.
But they didn't.
What a bunch of fools. This match was fantastic until the finish. They're just, it's out of this world. The place is going crazy.
Well, Javon Evans and Nathan Frazier are really special.
Yeah, you don't say.
They really are. They're going to be there. I mean, they're going to be in 5 years, they're going to be like the Will Ospreay and Takeshita. Maybe that's too high of a standard, but they're going to be in 5 years that group. The guys that just are out there. Like Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson were. When they were young and everything like that, where they're just. You could just see it. I mean, you could see it every time they were in there. They're just so fast and they're so athletic, and they do everything that they do is just a step faster and whatever, more crisp. Kind of like when Will was young. Where you could just see that they have something that can't be taught. They are just they just have a unique athletic ability.
Well, they have this fantastic match, and then all of a sudden, out comes Wes Lee with a chair. And so Javon takes him out with a dive, and he starts brawling to the backstage area with Wes Lee. And you can just hear the fans screaming, "No! Don't!" Well, he leaves, and Cedric's all alone in the ring, and he makes this great comeback. But then he eats the super kick brainbuster combo for the pin. This crowd is furious at this finish, and you should have seen it coming, folks. Should have seen it coming. So Javon and Wes Lee brawl backstage, and then RVD shows up and he says, "I know what I want to do in Philly." Show goes off the air. I presume he's going to be a guest referee, but that was not made clear. So
he should wrestle.
He could wrestle.
I mean, he should wrestle.
But it sounded like from what he said that he's going to referee.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to do a three-way with these two guys. Makes no sense, but it'd be quite a match.
Yeah.
Rob Van Dam versus Javon and Wesley. I guess we'll find out soon enough what the match is going to be. So that was NXT. Definitely a lot of things happening on that show. All right, do we got Rampage spoilers? How come... Is there like a full Rampage card?
Yeah.
Why the hell did they say there's only one match announced for the show then? We have like the whole match, right? The whole card?
No, nothing was announced.
No, they announced one match.
Right, yeah, they built up nothing else. And they barely announced that.
Why the hell would they do that if they taped the entire show? We know all the matches. Just announce them all.
Yeah, you know what? Last week how they had that big rundown and they were, whatever. I mean, I guess they still announced a bunch of stuff for next Wednesday. I mean, what was...
they are still announcing a lot in advance.
Yeah.
We got 3 matches for Collision. We got Mariah May, Anna Jay, Thunder Rosa, Harley Cameron, Day of the Dead match, and Kyle Fletcher and Commander. And then for next Wednesday, we got Cole and Malachi Black, the fight without honor, Darby and Orange versus Claudio and Pac, and then Penelope and Jamie and the Patriarchy confronting Hook. So they've announced a lot in advance.
And yeah, Learning Tree and Conglomeration.
Yeah, I mentioned that one, fight without honor.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are mentioning a lot more in advance, but they sure didn't do that for Rampage.
Yeah, so it's Roosh and Dralistico and Mortos beat The Butcher, J.D. Drake, and Beef when Rush pinned The Butcher. Taya Valkyrie with Deonna Purrazzo in the corner beat Zoe Lynn in a quick squash match like they do on Rampage when they have the 2-minute match deal or 1-minute match deal. And then Stokely Hathaway came out and he interrupted the Taya Valkyrie backstage promo and said that Zoe Lynn was bad-mouthing, the Taya and Deonna, who are called the Vendetta, and they came out and beat up Zoe, the two of them, again. Queen Aminata beat Layla Gray by submission. Layla Gray's wig came off during this match. I don't know. I would presume that this will all be edited off. And I was told that like her regular hair looks just fine and she has no reason to have a wig, but whatever. It came off. Top Flight and Action Andretti beat the Dark Order. Dante tried to stop Andretti from removing the bandages on Reynolds' ribs. So Andretti is going heelish, and Top Flight doesn't want him to. Andretti did take the bandages off, did a split-legged moonsault, and pinned Alex Reynolds. Top Flight and Dark Order weren't happy, but they all shook hands afterwards. Commander beat Leo Rush. Rope walk, Shooting Star Press to set up, of course, Commander and Kyle Fletcher, which will be on Saturday. And one more thing. After the Commander match, Top Flight and Action Andretti came out and they were talking to Leo Rush, and Andretti handed the Alex Reynolds bandages to Leo Rush and basically said, "What are you going to do?" And one of those guys, if not several of them, are going heel. Might only be Action, might be the whole group.
All right, on that note, we got to wrap it up for today, everybody. The New Observer's up on the front page, back issue as well. We'll have a lot of shows coming up this weekend, and I've had several up over the last couple of days as well. So check that out. Check out the front page for more. And that's it. We'll talk to you again after a while.